In 2012, I attended a presentation by Dr. Gerald Polak on interfacial fluid at the International Fascia Research Congress in Vancouver, British Columbia. As he eloquently and nonchalantly outlined the unique characteristics of easy water, he effectively delivered the revelation that changed my life. Surely most, if not all, the water in a human body is near an interface. I had fireworks going off in my head. Dr. Polak's presentation was the catalyst that launched my journey into the exploration of structured water in living systems. Pioneers in osteopathy often described the intelligent nature of fluids in the human body. Was it possible they were intuitively contacting this newly described phase of structured interfacial water? Modern scientific research into water not only substantiates the observations of these osteopathic innovators, but provides a new vision of a highly integrated human body. Scientists no longer view the human as a collection of interactions between individual systems, but a quantum body of continuous, dynamic, living fluid that functions as an intrinsically coherent, coordinated whole. This living fluid is biological water. Osteopathy was founded in 1874 by the American physician Andrew Taylor Still. Still lost faith in the medical system when all 4 of his children succumbed to cerebral meningitis, despite administering all of the medical treatments commonly prescribed at the time. He started criticizing medicine as a system of blind guesswork, where the doctor administered toxic drugs with the hope of affecting the ailment in question. While seeking solace by immersing himself in nature, he suddenly realized that all things in nature were parts of a greater whole. By observing how living systems in the natural world restored balance and harmony, Still understood the same was true for the human body. He founded osteopathy on the study, research, and observation of living systems in their natural environment. In his new philosophy, Still identified the circulation of all body fluids to have remarkable powers of healing and regeneration. Health involves the delivery of internal natural remedies to all parts of the body through the unobstructed flow of fluids, whereas disease is the manifestation of an anatomical dysfunction that disrupts this flow. Therefore, a return to health was not through the blind application of external drugs, but the restoration of the healing power of nature through the unobstructed flow of fluids. Osteopathic pioneers even went so far as to ascribe an intelligent nature of these fluids. Roland Becker, former president of the Osteopathic Cranial Association, commented, "The more I study osteopathy, the more it seems to boil down to a highly intelligent fluid surrounded and held in shape by fascial membranes." Manual osteopaths today continue to expand on Still's legacy and appreciation for the laws of nature. Osteopathy is not a pain or symptom-focused medical modality. Where you have pain is generally not where the problem is located. It's the place that can no longer compensate for the dysfunctional pattern in the organism. Just as the stagnant waters of a slough are generated by the logjam at the outsource preventing the flow of water, painful areas are created by blockages in other regions of the body. For example, a headache may be caused by congestion around the ovaries during ovulation. Manual osteopaths search for this root cause of their dysfunctional pattern and correct it with their hands by applying their vast knowledge of anatomy and physiology. A.T. Still's inspiration from nature reminds me of similar epiphanies found in the writings of German water engineer Theodor Schwenk. For Schwenk, the archetypal principles of water were dynamic, formative forces that shaped both the natural world and the human body. To demonstrate, he injected water from a pipette into a dish of stationary water. As the flow from the stream encountered the interface of motionless water, it involuted, creating complex three-dimensional bell formations. These bell formations look strikingly similar to the embryologic development of the face. Therefore, boundary surfaces were the birthplace of living form. Boundary surfaces, or interfaces, can be found everywhere in nature. The interface between water and air, between still water and moving water, and between water and an object. In the body, those interfaces are biological surfaces such as membranes and macromolecules. As presented by Dr. Pollack, when confronted with an interface, water spontaneously organizes into a new and uniquely different phase of water known as exclusion zone or easy water. Easy water is organized into a stable structure with many unique characteristics distinctly different than the bulk water located at a distance from the membrane. These properties may be the key to deciphering the complex organization and intercommunication of living systems. Humans are described as being 70% water. Traditionally, biological water was regarded as the inert solvent filling the space between structural elements in a living system. Theoretical scientists studying the structure and function of biomolecules, such as DNA, disregarded the background water from their calculations. Advanced forms of imaging, like the scanning electron microscope, systematically removed the water environment with harsh solvents and cryofreezing in order to isolate the biomolecule of interest. However, recent computer simulations of the structure of biomolecules demonstrate thick layers of water are involved in hydration envelopes surrounding every molecule in the human body. For example, hemoglobin is surrounded by 7,000 water molecules. On average, a human red blood cell contains 270 million hemoglobin. Therefore, a single erythrocyte contains 1.89 trillion water molecules. Humans may be 70% water by weight, but according to these new calculations, we are actually 99% water by molecule, making humans 0.8% less water than a jellyfish. Modern science had us believing 99% of the molecules in our body were merely the background solvent on which life played out. Most, if not all, of this water is never further than a fraction of a micron from a biological surface, making all biological fluids structured interfacial water. Interesting characteristics of easy water may contribute to the properties of living systems. Electrical testing of the structured exclusion zone water next to an interface suggests a strong negative potential, indicating an excess of electrons. Excluded protons accumulate at the edge of the exclusion zone, creating a region of high acidity and effectively creating a battery capable of storing electrical energy. In addition, water within the exclusion zone readily donates electrons, making it a reducing agent, while the bulk surrounding water serves as an oxidizer. Therefore, it is possible that the chemical reactions that drive the vital processes in living systems can be found at the interface between two layers of water, as opposed to how chemical reactions are traditionally described. DNA has the highest charge density among all biomolecules. Therefore, easy water in the nucleus exhibits the highest electron donating capacity. The cytoskeleton, constructed from proteins containing an excess of negatively charged amino acids, is the second highest water organizer in the cell. Not only does the structured water store the electrical charge required to drive redox reactions within the cell, the accumulation of protons on the interface of the exclusion zone create an intercellular flow without an expenditure of energy. Therefore, interfacial water in living systems contains the electrical potential to drive biological processes, as was envisioned by Albert Szent-Györgyi more than 70 years ago. This new fluidic image of the human body is consistent with the clinical perception and language used in osteopathy. Outside of the commonly described rhythms of respiration and heart rate, osteopaths describe a triphasic nature to the fluctuation of global fluids in the human body. This triphasic nature can be experienced by standing at the shore of an ocean. In fact, the language that we use to describe dynamics of fluid in osteopathy reflects the experience of rhythms in nature. While at the beach, you may notice variable, but rapidly lapping small waves that are influenced by the wind in the shoreline they encounter. These little waves are analogous to the cranial rhythmic impulse in osteopathy. The cranial rhythmic impulse is generated by the expansion and contraction of the ventricular system inside the brain during the production of cerebral spinal fluid. It has a variable rate of 7 to 14 cycles per minute because it's influenced by physiological factors such as respiration, heart rate, and autonomic nervous system activity. The function of the cranial rhythmic impulse is to nourish every nerve with cerebral spinal fluid along their entire length, and therefore is oriented along the axis of the central nervous system. We are also familiar with the rolling waves that come crashing into the shore. Water molecules in a wave experiences a vertical displacement as the wave passes with very minimal translatory motion. If you watch a bird swimming on the ocean, it will go up and down with the passing wave, but it will not be carried forward with the advancing water. In osteopathy, this is called the mid-tide, with a fixed rhythm of 2.5 cycles per minute. The mid-tide is generated by a global exchange of fluids with every cell in the body during cellular respiration. We call this primary respiration, and it is literally experienced as the whole body breathing with this palpable wave passing through all tissues. It is not inhibited by barriers or confined to a particular system. The mid-tide is organized around the midline axis of the body and not influenced by other physiological factors. In addition to the small lapping waves and the rhythmical breaking waves, the final and most influential force in the ocean is the tide. The tide is a formidable mass of water moving over significant distances, causing a tremendous amount of horizontal translation with very little vertical undulations. The tide has the potential to carry objects over great distances and can influence remarkable changes to a shoreline. Osteopaths call this the long tide, and it has a prolonged rhythm of one cycle every 1.5 minutes. The long tide is a vast organizational vital field orienting the organism towards homeostasis. It is a multi-directional fluctuation, no longer in relation to the body's midline axis, and expands outwards in all directions. Osteopathic pioneer William Gardner Sutherland observed, "There is more power, more potency in the tide than there is in the waves that come dashing upon the shore." The human body contains more water than any other substance. It is literally a breathing, moving container of living biological fluid. This new image of the human body has many interesting implications to osteopathy. No matter which technique we use during an osteopathic treatment, we are moving the fluids. Even the restoration of a locked joint is the movement of a denser form of fluid within a bigger gelatinous body of fluid. The impact from any therapeutic normalization is transmitted through the fluid matrix of the body to the nucleus of every cell, creating epigenetic changes. This transformation does not just affect the area of the resolved lesion, but reverberates throughout the entire fluid matrix. Therefore, this new view of a quantum fluid body is the ultimate manifestation of Dr. Still's unobstructed flow of fluids. In conclusion, structured water research creates a new biological picture of living systems. It offers alternative insights into energy production, the circulation of fluids, transmission and storage of information, and even a new view on what it really looks like inside the human body. Clinically, this new biological picture is more consistent with what I encounter under my hands every day. I feel the implications of easy water in the future of medicine are endless.